I must confess, I've always been fascinated by the intricacies of Victorian fashion. It's a common misconception that Victorian dress was drab and monochrome, but nothing could be further from the truth. The era witnessed a veritable explosion of color and creativity thanks to advancements in chemistry and global trade. Now you might be thinking, surely Victorian fashion remained static throughout the era? Quite frankly, nothing could be further from the truth. The silhouette of Victorian fashion was in a constant state of flux, as one does when dictated by the capricious nature of fashion. In the 1830s and early 1840s, we see the remnants of the Romantic era, with its soft, flowing lines and emphasis on a long, slim torso, paired with voluminous sleeves and skirts. As we progress through the decades, the silhouette shifts dramatically. By the 1850s and 60s, we witness the rise of the crinoline, that marvelous contraption that gave skirts their characteristic bell shape. And then, as if by magic, the fullness begins to migrate towards the back, culminating in the bustle of the 1870s and 80s. If you will, picture a day in the life of a Victorian lady. Her wardrobe was not merely a collection of pretty frocks, but a carefully curated arsenal, designed to meet the exacting standards of Victorian society. The morning might begin with a simple day dress, perhaps in a practical dark color to hide the inevitable dust and dirt of daily life. As the day progressed, she might change into a walking dress for a promenade in the park, or a visiting dress for calling on friends. Evening gowns were a spectacle to behold, with their low necklines, often daringly off the shoulder, and skirts adorned with layers upon layers of fabric and trimmings. And let us not forget the importance of accessories. Gloves, fans and jewellery all played their part in completing the ensemble. Now we come to the foundation of Victorian fashion, quite literally. The silhouette we admire in Victorian gowns was not achieved by fabric alone, oh no. It was the result of a complex system of undergarments, each playing its part in sculpting the body to the desired shape. The corset, that much maligned garment, was the cornerstone of this system. Contrary to popular belief, a well-fitted corset was not an instrument of torture, but rather a supportive garment that distributed the weight of heavy skirts and provided back support. Beneath the skirts, we find a veritable engineering marvel of petticoats and crinolines. The crinoline, in particular, underwent a fascinating evolution throughout the era. Beginning as layers of starched petticoats, it transformed into the cage crinoline of the 1850s and 60s, a contraption of steel hoops that gave skirts their enormous circumference while being surprisingly lightweight. While we've focused primarily on women's fashion, it would be remiss of me not to touch upon the evolution of men's attire during the Victorian era. At first glance, one might assume that men's fashion remained relatively static compared to the dramatic changes in women's dress. However, upon closer inspection, we find a subtle revolution taking place in gentlemen's fashion. The Victorian gentleman, with his perfectly knotted cravat and gleaming boots, was every bit as fashion-conscious as his female counterparts. As we draw our journey through Victorian fashion to a close, it's worth reflecting on the incredible innovations that shaped this era of dress. The sewing machine, patented in the 1830s, revolutionized garment production. Synthetic dyes, first discovered in the 1850s, brought a riot of new colors to the Victorian palette. These advancements, coupled with the expanding global trade networks of the British Empire, created a fashion industry that was truly revolutionary. The legacy of Victorian fashion continues to influence and inspire us today, a reflection of its enduring elegance and innovation.